Hello.
Hi everyone.
Hi everyone. How does this work? How do I use this? I forgot how everything works. This is what happens when I don't stream for a while.
How stream?
You just start clicking, clacking buttons, and you're just like, oh, well, hope for the best, you know? What's the worst that can happen? What's the worst that can happen? So we're going to let the F1 theme, but it's Slap House full version play out in the next 10 seconds. What a great song.
What does slap house mean?
Slap House definition. A subgenre of house that derived deep house during the late 2010s. The genre usually plays around 120 beats per minute.
Okay.
Urban Dictionary says it's a British slang term for a strip club. So, take that as you will.
Makes sense.
Hello, Pericles was the first one here. We will say that. I know people like to do their first thing. Hello. Robbie, it's Tuesday, so it means Ash and Elizabeth podcast. That's right. Oh, heck, it's podcast time. Hello, Gorlies. What up, Stuart? That's music for sure. Hello, Francis. Yeah. I've never heard a strip club referred to as a slap house. Just a strip club.
I never have either, but I feel like we're missing out because I feel like that's a fun term.
A slap house?
Yeah.
Like you want to grab a few beers at the slap house?
Yeah. It's kind of gross, but it's also really vivid.
I've never heard of that either. Yeah, well, we do live in the United States of America. It is what it is. Elizabeth, how you doing?
I'm all right. It's been a busy week. We had Mother's Day. We had our poor kitty Lunchbox got sick. So he's got a urinary issue that is thankfully getting better. Just been running around like crazy, dude. The month of May it's barely begun, and it's already got you going.
What do you have coming out for the chat for this week? I know we usually do this at the end, but I figured, well, everyone's here. I might as well get it out.
I have here. I'm just gonna link this because we're gonna go talk about this shortly. I have a podcast episode that's coming up, but I also have a play-by-play of the 1950 British Grand Prix because today is the anniversary of that. And then I also have a podcast episode for Deadly Passions, Terrible Joys about the 1957 Mille Miglia and why some people think that the Mille Miglia got canceled, not because 9 people died, but because the driver who died was so famous and important. So we're digging into that. Big week.
Big week for Elizabeth. Also read all our articles. Thank you so much.
Yes, please. I have many coming. I have a hot take coming out today about the F1 movie trailer. So
is it like a pedantic take? Like, you know what I mean?
I think it's probably a pedantic take, but also, I don't know. You know how there's certain things about motorsport that you're just like, this is integral to what motorsport is. That's what my take is.
Got it.
Is like, this trailer is showing me things that I don't agree with.
Okay, just be prepared for people to be like, it's just a movie.
Oh, I know people are gonna be so annoyed about it. I wrote one about how they shouldn't be setting the precedent of like, oh, the drivers falling in love, or the women on the team falling in love with the drivers, and then everyone got mad about that. And I was like, well, objectively, I'm right. So you will never convince me otherwise.
Never convince me otherwise. What happened for me this weekend? I went to the Hurricanes game. It was terrible because I'm a Capitals fan for this now segment, and we lost. We lost again yesterday. But the New York Knicks beat Boston. That's what's important. Because fuck Boston. Just need one more win. So hell's yeah, brother. If you're from Boston, you can go away. Anyway, no, Elizabeth wants you here. I don't. What else?
I like Boston.
What do you like about Boston, Elizabeth?
Tell me what
Boston? Redeeming qualities the city of Boston possibly has.
I love Chinatown. I think their food in Chinatown is great.
Okay,
I love walking around Boston because it feels like New York feels like there's purpose to it, and Boston just kind of feels like people showed up and they built roads to where people stopped moving. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it's a hot mess.
Exactly. I love that. I love that whole vibe. I'm here for it. I think it's so much fun. I love wandering around thinking I'm going somewhere and ending up somewhere I'm not supposed to be.
Like, we agree, but the fact that you like it, and I'm like, this makes no sense.
Yes, absolutely. Same thing with Paris. Love Paris. None of it makes any fucking sense.
Yeah.
Why is this road change names halfway through? I don't know. Just fucking, it just does.
Living life in Paris. Just who cares? Enjoy it. Well, relish in the chaos. Yep, that's definitely. No, meanwhile, Manhattan's a grid. It makes sense. It's logical.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
The Dutch were like, we're going to do this right when we settle here. We're going to get this correct.
That's the problem right there is the Dutch.
I guess it wasn't the French. I don't know what's going down in Louisiana, but you guys can deal with that. Shall we get started on... Oh, because I have a little thing about this. All right, let's get started on today's pod. Right now,
Yes.
today, happy 75th anniversary to Formula One.
Congratulations, Mr. Formula One. Somehow you made it 75 whole entire years.
Yay! Now, as Elizabeth stated, the first official World Championship Grand Prix was held in Silverstone on May 13th in 1950. Okay, this is where I get pedantic and like push up my glasses here. So the first Grand Prix was actually held in 1946. But we don't. But the first World Championship counting Grand Prix,
the first
Formula
Grand
One
Prix was
1906.
Yeah,
The French.
but the first Formula One
won.
race was 1946, and then the first Formula One World Championship race was this one in 1958 at Silverstone.
So like I just don't like the happy birthday portion because the birthday makes me think this is when it originated when it didn't. I think it gets people confused. And then
This is when it mattered.
But then is it an anniversary or is it a
But
birthday?
The way I think of it is like this is the birth, right? And all of that stuff that was building up to it was like the announcement, like in 1906, it's the announcement we're pregnant, right? We're having a baby. This is our Grand Prix. And then you build up to it. And then you get the 1946 race in Turin. You've got the Formula One regulations for the first time. But it's not a championship yet. That's the gender reveal. And then you get to the 1950 British Grand Prix, and that's its birthday.
Okay.
That's when it exits the womb.
I'll take that.
That's my elaborate excuse. It's not 9 months in the womb, but like 50 years.
Yeah. So me and Elizabeth understand that Grand Prix racing existed before Formula One. There was also like the Vanderbilt Cup stuff and the British Grand Prix existed before Formula One officially things. But for Formula One terms for 75 years, I'm glad they like brute forced a date. And they're like, May 13th, done. Like, we're just calling it now as it is.
Of course, Formula One is a Taurus. It makes so much sense.
The championship for 1950 only had 7 rounds. And I say rounds because one of the rounds included the Indy 500, which wasn't sanctioned by the FIA at 19...
No.
So there's still some contention if that counted as the first American Grand Prix. In Formula One, the first American Grand Prix was 1959, Sebring. Is what people count as official first American Grand Prix. But the Indy 500
was on the calendar.
And then as people debate whether some people, like, I think teams skip that race sometimes.
Teams always... So there was exactly 2 drivers who attempted the Indy 500 while it was part of the calendar. That was Alberto Ascari and Juan Manuel Fangio. Ascari did it in 1952 because Enzo Ferrari built a Formula One car. Then the FIA said, actually, we're going to Formula 2 regulations. And Enzo was like, we can go absolutely demolish these stupid Americans. Easy peasy. He lasted 40 laps. A wheel broke. The team didn't speak any English, so no one could ask, like, hey, why are you shifting 5 times a lap? You only got to do that once. So that was a whole disaster. And then Fangio came in 57. No, in 58, excuse me, because in 1957 they had a race of 2 worlds on the oval at Monza that all of the drivers from Formula One said, we're not going to race here because they brought the Americans over. And the Formula One drivers were like, we will not deign to race with the Americans on their stupid little oval track here in Europe. And so some rich dude from Indiana was like, Fangio, you're a fake world champion if you don't race on an oval. And so Fangio said, all right, if you pay me, I'll come to America. And he didn't get up to speed. And then he was like, I'm just going to go home. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Yeah.
So when I deal with certain people in the comment section of either our videos or WTF1 or really just any video I make about Formula One history, specifically, or not even history, it could just be I just like a video about the Miami GP viewership. Someone
Yeah.
said, then why, like, Americans stay out of Formula One? And I was like, we've been in Formula One. I was like, what are you talking about?
I
Open
know.
a
This
book.
is
I get so annoyed. It's just, stay out of Formula One. We've been here. It was the first
people forget
round.
that. Like I don't know. Fucking we have the Indy 500 was here, and the reason the Indy 500 was here was because Formula One wanted to be able to call itself a world championship as opposed to the European championship that had previously existed prior to World War II. And so they were like, well, how can we do that? They had Grand Prix at that point in like Argentina. They had them, all over the world, but they were like, what's the biggest race outside of Europe that we can think of? And the answer to that was the Indianapolis 500. So the FIA had contacts with the AAA contest board, which was sanctioning the race at that time, the Indy 500. And they were like, hey, can we just slap this on here? And they were like, yes, absolutely. But there was also Harry Schell, who's an American Grand Prix driver over in Europe at that time. So we had like the first race in America being the Indy 500, but we also had an American in Formula One. So anyone who wants to be a hater can shut the fuck up.
We also had an American F1 championship before an F1 champion from Germany,
Hmm.
before Brazil,
Hmm.
before Austria,
Hmm.
before the country of Finland. There's just like so many. just we've been
Yeah,
here. If you just hate
we've been
America, just
here.
say so. But we've been here.
Exactly. Exactly. Just tell me you're an idiot and get out of here. Like I don't want to have an argument with you because you think you're making a point. Your point is just nothing.
Now, if we want to bitch about the racetracks, that's fine.
Yeah,
If we want to complain about Miami and Vegas and Coda, I will have that conversation all day. But don't blame like America.
exactly. Again, none of this is America's fault. I am working on a book about this right now, about why every single F1 track in the United States has failed because of Formula One. So if you know an agent who wants to represent a book about Formula One, tell them to hit me up because I'm working on that.
All right, enough American propaganda on this podcast. Moving on.
USA, USA.
Oh no, Alpine drama. I'm sure a lot of you were enthralled by team boss Oliver Oaks suddenly resigning from the team because it turns out that his brother William was arrested with a large amount of cash on charges of transferring criminal property.
Hmm.
Ollie fled to Dubai. He's currently not accused of any wrongdoing, but there's potentially the Mazepins are involved, and
Yes.
that doesn't look good.
Yes. So the whole situation here is the fact that High Tech Grand Prix, which was owned and run by the Oaks brothers, had a 75% investment by the Mazepin family prior to the war in Russia, or the war that Russia started. And at that point, the Oaks family like bought them out. So the Mazepins were no longer involved because of European sanctions, but they've been like on the sidelines ever since. So I don't know if you guys remember in Bahrain for testing this year, people were like, Dmitry Mazepin is in the paddock. Like he's here.
Yeah.
And he was on a quote unquote personal visit to Oliver Oaks at the Alpine garage. So we don't know what that's about, but there are a lot of like people tying them together, folks in the know, having mentioning those folks all in the same breath.
Yeah, my life pro tip was to only don't do two illegal things at once, and then
Mhm.
don't do illegal things when you have a public facing job.
Exactly.
Let
So
someone
we
else do it.
it was so funny because I wrote the Rich Energy book with Alanis King, and every time there's a scandal afterward, people are like, "Hey, you should write about this F1 scandal." And so many people said that about the Earl Colley sponsorship of Haas, and I was like, I'm not getting involved in the Russians. Absolutely not. And then someone mentioned like Alpine. You should write about Alpine, how Alpine's fall apart. And I was like, that's a good idea. And then it came right back around again to the Russians. And I was like, I can't do it. I'm not I'm not I'm not making enemies with that.
I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. Absolutely not. So, currently vacationing in Dubai. It could be worse. It could be.
It could be worse.
So currently the interim team principal, as we know, is Flavio Briatore because they quote
Mhm.
unquote fire Ollie Oaks. Supposedly the firing had nothing to do with this.
It was a resignation,
Oh,
apparently.
okay, yeah, sure,
Mutually
whatever.
agreed upon resignation.
Yeah, sure, sounds great.
Hey guys, my brother's in trouble. I'm out. And they were like, yeah, probably
So
makes
would I.
sense.
So will I be in 2 seconds if I don't get out of here. Money's under the mattress.
Mm-hmm.
Also, this past week, Max Verstappen took part of a Ferrari GT3 test at the Nürburgring, but he went under a pseudonym, Franz Hermann.
Yes.
Well, I mean,
Yes.
partially under a pseudonym because obviously his helmet and his racing suit had his real name.
Yeah. And his car was like Verstappen.com. Like, I don't know. If I see a Verstappen.com car driving around the Nürburgring, I'm gonna go take a peep and see what this Franz Hermann fella is up to. And I'm gonna see him take his helmet off and realize, oh, that's Max Verstappen, not Franz Hermann.
Yeah, so he runs that livery. I mean, his team runs that livery for GT4
Yeah.
Challenge Europe. So like that livery isn't like too suspicious, but people pay attention to that car. Like a lot of
Yeah.
people from Team Redline, like his esports whatever sim racing team, like a lot of people pay attention to what he does and his team
Yeah.
does. So a lot of people
Yeah.
are eyes on that. I don't know how. I get it. I guess he didn't want to notify anyone if like he just had it on. If it was Max or Verstappen, I think a lot more media would have showed up like they did for day two. But like he
Mhm.
just wanted one moment of peace. But no, I appreciate. Just he's like free weekend, keep racing.
Yeah. I love that. I love that for him. I'm
So
glad. I hope he had fun.
I think he did. He just kept doing it. He was having a fun time. There was so for Nürburgring you need to have a special license to race Nürburgring, or certification as whatever terminology you'd like to use. But you need to run special tests and practice to pass and get the the license to race Nürburgring specifically, not a super license, none of that stuff. Specifically just for that track. Was that what he was doing, or was it just
Maybe.
a GT3 test? Do we know that?
I don't think we know for sure because he's not wanted to talk to anyone about it. But I feel like we will probably hear more in the next few days because everyone's going to ask about that in the build up to Imola. So we should
Oh, it's
probably
true.
end up get more details. We just haven't had any quite yet.
Yeah, he's not racing Nürburgring 24. Well, at least this year because I think the same time Austria is happening, the Austrian GP. So
Mm,
he's not racing. The month of June is a shit show. We'll talk about it as it gets closer. About a lot of racers from different race series, like IndyCar, sports car racing, etc., like to race in the
yeah.
month of June. But because the way schedules work out, we won't be seeing that as crazily. So
Boo.
boo. Also in the news, Carlos Sainz Sr. supposedly challenging Mohammed bin Salman for the FIA presidency.
Yes. So the next presidential election for the FIA is coming up this year on the 12th of December in Uzbekistan. Mohammed bin Sulayem naturally is seeking re-election for second term, and no other candidates have come forward to challenge him, aside from Carlos Sainz saying he's interested and he's currently basically in the process of seeking out support in the paddocks around the world to see how many people will actually vote him in if he were to make a serious challenge. So he's not quite an official candidate yet, but he is seeing what the interest of that is. He did a big interview with motorsport.com about why he is seeking this position. I was not very pleased with any of his answers. There was no policy talk, no anything of substance. It was just like, I no
No!
every time.
Every time. But why? Every time at the same time.
God hates us.
But the rest of it works, I think. I'm still here, right? With you?
Yeah, you're still here with me.
Please hold. Mm. Okay, it says we're back.
Okay, we're doing it.
Chat, are we
We're
back?
here.
Again, for the second time. God, every single time. Ash plugged in her Ethernet cable. I didn't do anything. Someone get the rabbit ears for the router? LOL.
Ah,
Okay,
good
I
old
don't
days.
trust that I won't do it again. That's the
Everyone,
issue.
please stick around.
You know what it is? It's the FIA.
It is the FI. They're doing it to us again.
God damn it. Every single time we talk about the FIA, my internet cuts out. How
My
suspicious.
FBI agent hates that. No chatter about the FIA.
How dare you? Okay, it says we're back, baby. Okay.
Okay,
Whew.
take three.
And that's the show, folks. The FIA coming to get us.
Just a little news. That's it.
We're in a tinfoil hat. And lastly, just to wrap up the news real quick, just really lightly touch on MotoGP. I finally got to watch it at a
Ooh.
normal time. I think because it was delayed from the rain, so I woke up a little bit after 8, and I was able to catch the race, which was nice because usually MotoGP is all over the calendar, and it's way too early for me to wake up to. First time in 71 years, Frenchman Johann Zarco won the French Grand Prix, and it's the first time ever at Le Mans. And it also was a record attendance for the French GP for MotoGP, which is nice.
Good for them.
It was so happy. It was just so joyous because his parents were there, so they were
Aw.
happy. He also does a backflip, so he like went to the crowd and like stood in front of like the grandstands on like the concrete barrier and did a backflip. It was like a whole joyous thing.
That's sweet.
I loved it.
I'm glad.
What a
The
nice.
French, let the French have something nice for once.
Yeah, it was a wholesome race. Let the French have something nice for once. Yeah, I was pro France for a couple minutes there. Don't tell anyone. I got a street cred to keep, but that was really sweet.
Your secret safe with me.
Thank you so much. Let's talk about IndyCar, the IMS road courses.
Our month of May has started, and we had, for some godforsaken reason, Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing being fast and qualifying. I love to think that Bobby Rahal has done some sacrifice to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway to be fast at Indy, but he forgot to specify which race to be fast at. So because they're like always fast at the road course, but never at the 500. Uh, Still ended up being an Alex Palou win.
Classic.
Yeah, they capitalized on strategy. He and his team, was he strategist, chief engineer Barry Wanzer. Graham Rahal threw several Hail Marys as the Rahal team tried and kind of just failed to make anything happen because they didn't actually have race pace. We had the first caution of the year since St. Pete, which is an insane stat.
Yeah.
It was like 400 plus laps of green flag racing before we get the caution. That wiped out Palou's 9.5-second lead very late in the race. And he rallied on the restart and ended the race with 5 seconds over second place. So he had a 9-second lead, then got a no lead, and then came back and had a 2-second lead, or excuse me, 5-second lead. So he's just so good, it's disgusting.
I like this next point that theoretically, Palou's 97-point lead over the field is so vast he could skip an event and still hold the points lead by almost a full race's available points.
Yeah. Lamar?
Oh,
Lamar?
yeah, I just skipped.
Lamar Queen? So, as we mentioned, there's so much happening in the month of June. The Le Mans weekend this year is the same as the Canadian Grand Prix,
Sad.
The Mexican NASCAR race, and Gateway IndyCar. So there's a lot of the drivers who would have wanted to go to Le Mans are not going to be able to go to Le Mans because of all of the conflicts that are happening. But theoretically, Alex Palou could do this if he continues to have this points gap because we've got quite a few races before then.
Does IndyCar need like a waiver like NASCAR does? Like, does he have to compete in every single race to be considered for the championship?
I don't think so. I think he can just walk off and do his thing.
Would CGR be okay with that? That's another question.
Maybe.
Oh, my God, TBD on that one.
Maybe. We'll see. But could be fun.
He's a good boy, though. He wouldn't do that.
I know. I mean, there was all that contract drama, but yeah.
Too soon. I think
That's
he's still spending
another
money.
thing.
I think he's still spending money over there to deal with that. Oh, yeah, Pato Ward was the P2, which is nice.
Yeah.
Pato.
Thank God.
We needed some good news for Pato.
I know.
Especially
That
coming
poor
into Indy
boy.
500 weekend. He just needed
know.
like some good vibes.
I hope that this P2 in the road course race means that maybe he can finish higher than P2 for once in the 500. That would be sick, but we'll see how that goes with qualifying and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yep. What else? So they were making a big thing all weekend about how this is the most dominant, Alex Palou's most dominant driver since like AJ Foyt in
Hmm.
1964. Um, Champ Car with Sebastian Bourdais, like Sebastian Bourdais in Champ Car had a much more recent streak of dominance than 1964.
Hmm.
Like this was a thing that happened just prior to the reunification of IndyCar, which was Champ Car in the IRL. I don't know why we keep throwing away. Like I know that wasn't a good time in history, but like Sebastian Bourdais was so good that he dog walked the field multiple times and then got a ride in F1. Like he was so good in American Open Wheel, he earned a spot in F1. And we keep just forgetting about this and going back to AJ Foyt. JFK was still president. He hadn't been shot yet. That's insane.
It's too far of a reach. Like we have someone so much closer. I just like feel like we don't like to talk about it unless like it really highlights something that IndyCar needs to like pull out of the archives. Like, oh,
Apparently
remember
no
this random tidbit?
apparently no one likes Sebastian Bourdais. Maybe that's just it. He's French, he's not American. AJ Foyt's
Yeah,
the big American IndyCar driver.
which is
I
wild
don't
because he's
know.
doing so well now in sports car racing. It doesn't.
Exactly. Just pisses me off. It's just just frustrating. Honestly, as a person who likes history,
Hmm.
pisses me off because I don't know. It gives it this sense that this is so wholly unprecedented when actually within like the last 20 some years we saw this happening. So, I know it wasn't a great time, but like own it. You cannot you cannot run from your history. That is the whole entire problem of why IndyCar keeps doing the same fucking things.
And with the Alex Palou dominance yet again, there's that conversation of Alex Palou dominance could bore everyone, and we hate it, and let someone else win, and what's
Hmm.
going on? It's just, I like this last point. It says you may not like it, but you will respect it. And yet again, I say,
Exactly.
why is this Alex Palou's fault, and not
Yeah.
everyone else for just bucking up and doing better?
Yeah. We
That's
have I don't know. I'm never going to hate. Okay, maybe that's too far. Currently, I'm not going to hate on a driver who just happens to be so exceptionally good that no one else can challenge him. I mean, I get that it is frustrating. I didn't like watching Max Verstappen win by 30 plus seconds every weekend because you just sit there and go, ugh, right? Like nothing that's there's no big storyline for the top of the charts, which is inherently a more interesting storyline than, oh, we have five teams battling for P6 in the championship.
mhm,
Um, I don't know. I think as I've matured as an adult, as I've
matured.
grown, uh, I've started to more appreciate these things. Like even with Verstappen, it's like, well, okay, well, we're witnessing history, so that's kind of cool. Like
Yeah.
Lewis Hamilton would have been nice if someone else won every so often, but also I watched history happen. I saw him win races during his dominant streak. That's really cool. That's a thing that not a lot of people can say, and that's a thing that people in the future are going to be like, "Oh, I wish I could have witnessed that."
Hmm.
It's there. I got to see it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to enjoy my Alex Pillow time while it exists. And as Chap says, this is a spec series, which is designed for this to not happen. So this shouldn't fucking happen. It just means he's really good.
Right. Which is where like my argument comes. Why are we mad at him and not the 25
Yeah,
plus other drivers who are not really good? Like I just
yeah,
like, I think because it's only one person that we can be mad at as opposed to 20 plus. Like same thing with Max
yeah.
Verstappen. Like he was just great. Lewis Hamilton, Sebastian Vettel, Michael
Hmm.
Schumacher. Everyone's like, "Oh, I hate this." I was like, "I hate the 19 other jabronis who don't know how to drive.
Yeah,
Tell everyone else to
exactly.
fix their car. What are their
And
teammates doing?"
especially and especially in a spec series where like you all should theoretically be on a level playing field. There's no real excuse. Like why aren't you watching Alex Pillow's race tapes and figuring out what he's doing so much better than you? Because it should just be a matter of tweaking things and being better.
No, it sucks. It's not good for my TV. My mind needs constant action. Rah, says H Cats. That's another thing. If you're only worried about who's winning, I don't know. Maybe it's I wait, sorry. I need to reel it back, Ashley. Calm down. People can watch racing as they like. Let me just state that. And I get it. Some people only care about who's on podium or who's winning. Fine.
Mm-hmm.
But have you considered watching the rest of the race? The rest of the field and them doing what they need to do and figuring out in the other storylines instead of just P1. I think you would find F1 is definitely more interesting that way as well when it's not just the race lead, but additionally IndyCar too.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
I think they need to this comes back to, I think, overall broadcast issues where if you're not communicating to the audience that there are interesting things happening elsewhere on the field, then you need to be telling them that because they're not going to just know that. You should assume that they need some direction, some guidance, some establishment of a storyline for people to say, okay, well, we know we need to pay attention to the battle for P2. We know we need to pay attention to where someone like Colton Herta finishes just in case he gets his super license. Like, there are ways we can layer in other additionally interesting topics, but they just seem incapable of that right now.
Counterpoint, Fox focusing on Ferrucci wrecking the field for 18th. That's just, that's for the entertainment. It's for the lulz.
Is this the DTS effect? Everything needs a storyline. As a storyteller, I think everything needs a storyline anyway.
I think there's stories everywhere.
Yeah, I think that's the reason I got into motorsport was because there are stories to tell.
Do they need to be dramatic? Like, no, I think that's the DTS thing you might be hinting to. I think there's stories everywhere, but they can be wholesome. They can be educational. They can be personable.
Yeah. When you watch a race, you should come away with a better knowledge of the sport than you walked into that race with. And that's just how this works. It's a human sport. There's a lot of technical stuff that's going on, but ultimately at the end of the day, it's people putting these things together. So I don't know. Drive to Survive definitely created like the tabloid narrative drive that people want to have.
That's a good way of putting it.
I don't think we need to do it like that. I think that there's plenty still to say, all right, there are always 1,000 things happening in a race, and highlighting them would do very well to engage an audience in a race that is otherwise perhaps not the most compelling and interesting. And keeps us from rambling and focusing on, again, Ferrucci wrecking out in 18th, because there were more interesting things that happened.
Yeah. I think Tone brought this up earlier about IndyCar's new mandatory tire rules attempted to improve the racing product, but fell short of expectations.
Yes. They are debating whether or not to keep those rules in place for Detroit, which comes right after Indianapolis. I don't know. I thought it was weird framing that they were like, we're doing this because we want to like stop Pelot from winning all the time. And like they positioned this rule and talked about this rule as like it's his fault. And I was like, that's just weird for one thing. Two, if it didn't work, why keep doing it? I don't know. I guess try things out and see what happens, but damn.
We saw what happened.
Yeah.
Not working.
I'm sorry, Alex Bell is just fucking good. So facilitate him going to F1 or something.
That's when we started doing, that's when they started thinking about, what's going to happen? They're doing drafts for IndyCar like we did, except what they're going to do is like the worst team gets Alex Pelot. Like they get to draft the drivers.
That'd be so funny.
And be like, oh, see, try to drive this, Alex, and see.
Yeah.
I would love to see that. I know IndyCar would take this seriously as a suggestion. I'm going to start bullying them online. That they should start drafting drivers. Like the worst team gets first pick. Yeah. Because then if he does very well, no one has an excuse.
Non-charter team takes Alex Pelot, wins the championship. Wouldn't that be fun?
Pelot to hot sweat. Wait, don't do that to him. Okay. He deserves better.
Give him Cadillac.
Jack of all trades says, and Elizabeth, I read this, so I'd love to. Yes, it's a spec series, which, as you said, theoretically means it should be on a level playing field, but teams that have more money are going to have a better car. Simple as that.
Yes. I mean, I'm not going to deny that. I think Penske has the facilities and ability to prepare a car in a much different fashion than Dale Coyne Racing. And hire people who have expertise
Hmm.
and experience in making those spec parts work better together to tweak the things and the rules that can be tweaked. Um, but at the same time, you're still working from a complete base, so there shouldn't be such an insane level of stratification, similar to what you see in F1, where you have a team up at the front that used to be able, like Mercedes used to be able to spend hundreds of millions of dollars
Hmm.
and, crush a Williams that could afford maybe 20 mil. Um, I mean, you see the same thing with Dale Coyne and Penske, but especially because we've got those new hybrids, like you theoretically should kind of all be back our level playing field, but it's just, I don't know. Alex Pilot's just good.
To be closer than what it is what we're trying to say.
Yeah, exactly. Like Scott Dixon even has been struggling with these regulations. Kiffin Simpson, he's just Kiffin Simpson. So like, you've got Chip Ganassi. There's like clearly one driver who's at the top of the field here.
Poor Kevin Simpson, just catching strays on the Elizabeth and Ash show.
I
Jesus.
I like Kevin. I think he's a nice boy. That's mostly what I
Perfect.
can say.
All right, that's Kansas. We had Brendan Butterbean Queen goes to Waffle House after his ARCA win, which we love. We love
Mm,
when we
a
love
man
when
of my own heart.
NASCAR drivers go to Waffle House. I feel like some Cup drivers have done that recently.
Probably.
But I feel like Byron went to a Waffle House. He beat William Zawalich in the last lap dash, set up from a late race yellow, coming to the checkered flag. So,
So he picks the nickname Butterbean. If you had to nickname yourself after a bean, what bean would you pick? I would pick Great Northern Bean. That'd be my nickname.
this is such an oddly specific question. I don't know beans.
You don't know beans?
No, why would I know beans?
Because
Pinto
they're
beans.
the best.
How often do you eat beans?
I don't, not often as I'd like, but I think about them a lot.
I do not think
Liz
about.
bean casual. Clearly, you're not bean maxing, and I think you should be. It's a good source of protein and fiber.
Ooh, edamame is pretty good.
I don't count that.
Okay, fine. Google counts that. Types of beans. It's ridiculous that I have to do this. Pinto beans, no. Great Northern beans.
That's me. I'm Great Northern Beans.
You're soft and creamy.
hmm And from the north.
I don't want to be a kidney bean. I don't want to be a lentil.
You want to be a lentil? Lentil's not a bean either. Lentil's a legume.
Mm. Black eyed peas. Dense and firm. I'm definitely dense. Cranberry beans. Navy beans. Red beans. Pink beans. Soybeans. Azuki beans. I don't want to be a bean, Elizabeth. I reject this bean reality. I've read the beans. I'm not impressed by any of them.
Not relating to any beans. That's okay. We'll work on it.
Don't feel bad, Ash. I don't eat beans either. I mean, I eat beans. I just don't think about what bean I would want to be. What kind of
Why not?
BuzzFeed-esque question is this?
If you could be a dessert, what dessert would you be? You don't think about
Oh,
these things?
I'd be
I think
key
about
lime
these things
pie.
all the time. Key lime pie. Oh, that's a good choice.
Thank you. It's
That's a
the
good
best
choice.
dessert out there, so.
It's a good choice.
A little tart,
All right.
acquired taste.
Delish.
Carson Hocevar wins the truck race after last lap duel with Lane Riggs. Riggs was disqualified in post-race tech, so Spire inherits a 1-2 finish with William Byron in P2. There was also a thing with Hocevar. I put keeps up international relations. I don't know if anyone knows the movie Top Gun, but he basically just had his middle finger out for like 2 solid laps.
So funny. Also, like him middle finger flying coming to the checkers, incredible energy.
But he was just keeping it out there for so long, which is just like, okay.
That's what I do.
How long do you flick someone out for?
If they're being an asshole and they're like tailgating me, you're gonna have that middle finger for as long as you're stuck behind me. I will one hand drive for 45 minutes. I don't give a fuck.
Wow.
I'm a spiteful person when
Interesting.
it
No, my
comes to
very
driving.
like a prominent flick. Like I flick them off, hold it for a couple seconds. And I'm like, what are you doing here? Learn how to drive, and then I just move on with my day.
I don't, and that's probably an issue because I live in Texas where you're allowed to have guns.
Same thing
in
in
your
North
car at
Carolina.
all times. So usually when I do that stuff, I don't tell Chris about it. He doesn't need to know.
What I've started doing is thumbs down.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
Because then if you read a story about like a woman gets killed because she gave someone a
Boo.
thumbs down, like you're a total idiot. Like that's your fault. Middle finger, I understand, is like an aggression thing, and I guess from New York, like we do it way too often. So like I realize people have guns in their car now, so I just started doing. I've tried to start doing thumbs downs.
That's so funny. Oh my God. I've
Just
seen the thumbs up, like the thumbs up of like the Colton Herta, the nice job asshole. Hmm. I'm gonna have to start thinking up some other ones. I want to get like instead of a horn noise, it just says boo.
no, you can't do thumbs up, chat. You can't do thumbs up because people are dumb. Okay, the average American
there's
is a
no
sixth grade
media
reading level.
literacy these
There's no
days.
media literacy. I'm not doing a thumbs up. They're going to be like, oh, I should keep tailgating you. Like, it's okay. Perfect. No, you got to straight up let them know what's wrong. Thumbs down.
Bad news bears.
You can't do a thumbs up. People
I'm
aren't
gonna get
sarcastic.
little signs to hold up, and one says "Yikes."
I always thought the LED signs in the back of cars, like to save a message. Do you know what I'm saying? Like there has to
Yeah,
like,
I've
people
seen
have
those.
like smiley faces or hearts, like very rarely, but I've seen them before. And I'm like, can I
Mhm.
just not have like fuck off or back up or don't tailgate me? Like can I
I'm
just
just
not
gonna
have
have stinky, and that just rolls the whole time because I know that makes so many people go so insane.
Is there a horn that boos?
I don't know. I feel like I could
This could be like a safety regulation
whip
thing
that
that you
up.
can't change the color. I mean change the color, change the sound, excuse me.
But that's the thing. There's got to be a variety of tones that you can have for
I
your
see
horn
what you're
because every
saying.
horn is a little different.
Yeah.
So I could find one like that, but I could also just install like a police siren that boos, and I could just flick the button and it's on the top of my car, just booing people around me.
It's just in my Toyota Tacoma, it's just like a stream deck full of sounds and just
Oh
lights
my
to show in the
God.
background.
Oh my God, that'd be so
Boop.
funny.
Just get a loudspeaker. I'll add Jeremy Clarkson. That'd be good.
Yeah.
If your car needs a
I'll
La
have to think
Cucaracha
about
as a
it.
horn sound. Da, 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 da. No, I'm definitely thumbs down. Yeah, I feel like that's the best way. Thumbs up, people don't get.
I
Middle
wave
finger's too aggressive.
sometimes.
Oh, you wave sometimes?
I wave sometimes. If someone like tailgates me and then goes flying around, I'm like, pisses them off, drives them crazy. We're just being buddies.
I also like to inherently just stare at people because there's this.
I
Sorry,
like
this is a really
I
random.
like to I like to inspect.
I will just stare at the driver, especially because usually the Tacoma is pretty taller than a lot of cars on the road, unless it's like some beefy lifted car. So people try to merge from the turn only lane all the time. Like you,
I hate
and I
that.
don't believe these people are first time drivers because my Taylor tries to be like, "Hey Ash, like this could be their first time on this road." I was like, "What is the odds that every person I encounter here, every time I come back from the gym, is a first time driver on this road, not knowing this is a turn only lane? They're trying to merge into my lane anyway." Then I just stare at them because it's like they're like perpendicular to my car and I'm like right there. So we're at a red light, so I'm just the entire time. I don't know if that ever does anything, but it makes me feel better.
I always look at the person, like if I pass someone who's driving slow or erratically, I always like I have to see who's doing this to me so I can put a face to the behavior. Sometimes you find out that the guy behind the wheel is drinking alcohol in his work truck, and then you have to go send a complaint to his boss.
Oh, yeah. If people are driving
Yeah.
work trucks like dicks, yeah, absolutely. How's my driving?
While drinking a
Terrible.
beer? A fucking cracked open beer in your work truck? King.
So chap goes who's probably his own boss.
I don't know, he heard it from me.
For the Cup race, Kyle Larson dominated the field with a grand slam, earned the absolute maximum available points in the race, 61, won both stages, the race, and the fastest lap award. Blaney and Bell tied for the second most points, earned at 49.
That's crazy. Kyle Larson kicks off his month of May with a win before he heads off to Indianapolis. He will hold his lead in the points in the Cup Series until at least the conclusion of his double attempt. So he's killing it. He also set a record for the most laps led by any driver ever in the history of a Kansas 400-mile race. The previous record was held by Jimmy Johnson. The new record, 221 of 267 laps.
Yeah. And
That's
Elizabeth, I know
so
you mentioned
many.
this in the previous pod, but we're just going to keep reiterating in case people miss it. The priority for Kyle Larson and for NASCAR is the Charlotte 600. If anything were to happen, or like a rain delay or something, he would miss the Indy 500 or get out of the car to go make
Yep.
it for the 600
Yes.
in time.
Yes. I can't, you can't guarantee he will do well in the 600 if he's just gotten out of the car and then had to fly fucking to Charlotte, but at least he's got a hold on things until the end of this whole month happens.
I mean, I don't see why he wouldn't do well. Maybe a little tired. That's fine.
No.
People working
Maybe he just has a bad
14-hour
day.
shifts every day. I think he can drive a car. That's fine.
Maybe he just runs into someone.
He's
Who knows?
an ex. What are you doing here? Are you also racing the 600? I think as Chappa said, Fox Sports stinks.
Yep.
I think
That was
God
a
it's
big
last
takeaway.
week. Yeah. I've seen some people complain about who was into the wall. Kozlowski? No.
Yeah.
He was in the
Someone.
wall. Was it Kozlowski? Am I crazy? Someone was in the wall. And they were they just didn't call it for like a couple seconds. They're like, oh no, in the wall.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, Kozlowski. Okay. And they were just not
Someone's in
happy
the
about
wall.
it. They're like, oh,
No.
someone's in the wall. So a lot of, I think as previous complaints have stated, just lack of enthusiasm, missing things, some storylines that were missed, and that Chappas pointed out for us. Chris Buescher was a pre-race favorite from Fox Analyst, had a lackluster day, scoring 0 stage points, but finishing P8th. So you think you'd want to bring that up about how your picks have been doing, especially in your pre-race analysis, and you just didn't bring them up again.
There's so much pre and post race. There's no excuse. Like
There's
this just
so
blows
much.
my mind.
Corey Heim finished at 13th in his debut for 2311, eclipsing Riley Herbst's 27th place run. Chase Elliott, which is the most popular driver in NASCAR, finished second in both stages, but plummeted to P16 in the final results. Someone go ask this man what happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Could we have a follow-up about any of these things? No. Absolutely not.
Hey, what is this happening?
God hates us.
Why? What did I do wrong? I'm just a... But why? Tell me why ain't nothing but a heart. It's gonna happen again. I don't trust it.
Break.
Ugh. I just want to yap.
Just let me yap. Yap.
Oh no. I said I've dropped frames. Way that it used to be, yeah. What is happening?